And we should be live. Hey, Rebecca, if you can hear us, please let me know. Just make sure we have our audio in order before we continue. But I think we should be good. Just
I
give it a
hope so.
second.
I've been working all day on this microphone. I'm just saying that so Rebecca can hear my
Yeah.
audio as well. Uh,
Yeah.
but thanks for
Um,
having me on today. This is good.
yeah, I'm not seeing anything pop up on here. It's not popping up for some reason. Hmm. Is there like technical difficulties?
I can't see anything. I mean, on my end it looks fine.
Well, I'm looking at my. Oh, there we go. It's popped up on my YouTube now. Alrighty. Hi. Oh, Vicky's in the chat. All right. Let's get started. So, welcome, Jessica. Welcome to my channel. This is Cassie Speaks Up, and we have a very special guest today, Jessica Gill. And I think you can do your own intro.
For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jessica Gill. I am a advocate for women's sports and spaces and rights. So yes, you look at me and you see that I'm trans, one, and why would I be advocating for women's protections? That's just been, I don't want to say my life's goal, but like about 8 years ago, I started taking drugs and started scheduling surgeries to do my transition after I had gotten through my boy life, as we would call it. I dedicated the rest of my life to becoming who I wanted to be all my life. And along the way, I noticed that there's a lot of middle ground, so to speak, or um, things in life that trans women run across that interfere with women's lives. And for the longest time, like 8 years ago, when I was transitioning, even before my facial surgeries, my breast augmentation, stuff like that, my biological girlfriends would drag me into the bathroom with them. Like, no, girl, you belong in here because that's the way it was back then. I feel it was more acceptable for a trans woman to do normal woman stuff in public spaces. So I never thought twice about it. I was always a little bit uncomfortable going into the women's room to go to the bathroom. It felt weird to me from day one. I'm not delusional about what I look like, and I know I don't pass as a woman, which is the line that made me famous on the Jubilee debate. We could talk about that a little bit later. Um, so because I don't pass, I feel I should just be in the men's room. And, I get tons of compliments online all the time, my YouTube channel, Twitter. People are always like, girl, you are welcome in the bathroom with me anytime. And that's when I, realized that, hey, we do have a problem here because now we have so many women speaking up saying, hey, this guy doesn't even look like a woman. He's in the bathroom with me. Why? And then being an athlete all my life, as you can see, for those of you who know me, I used to race pro motocross, and I did that. I retired at, I think, 38, and then that's when I started my transition. I'm almost 50 now, so just being in sports all my life, I know what it takes to be an athlete. And I was watching these trans people my age starting to compete in women's sports, and that drove me crazy. I was like, wait a minute, that's not fair. He can't, they can't do that. I shouldn't say he or she. I'll say they can't do that. And from there, it just, what put me on the map was Leah Thomas. And then the minute that happened with Riley Gaines, I reached out to Riley. I was one of the first trans women, if you want to call it that, to reach out to Riley and say, hey, if there's anything you need, please let me know. Don't stand for this crap. Let's put up the fight. Dude, she was already on her way to putting up the fight that she did. And once I posted my first picture and YouTube video back in the day, 2 years ago with Riley, and I took off from there, and unfortunately I never got the platform I wanted to get in order to advocate properly for women's sports, but I do, voice my opinion when I can. And I was invited to Jubilee, and that's when it all started for me as far as my social media presence. So,
Okay, very good. And just to make sure, was Lita Thomas thing before the Jubilee debate or after the Jubilee debate? I forget which order it came in.
yeah,
Before? Okay,
yeah.
okay. It's like that little segment of like history. I'm always like, which way did it go? I couldn't remember. So
Yeah,
since you yeah, since you brought up the Jubilee debate, what exactly got you to go on to the Jubilee debate, and what exactly made you be like, yes, I want to do this?
Actually, they reached out to me. They found me on I believe Instagram. I was doing a lot of shorts on Instagram. That's how I started my social media. Was Instagram. Just Ariel, if you know her, she's a lesbian in Florida. Ariel, she's
Yeah, I
Florida.
love her.
She put me on her channel once, and I just did a quick recording in my truck at a parking lot, and I was like, "There's no debate when it comes to trans women in women's sports. No debate." And Ariel put that on, and then Riley put that on her channel, and from there, I think Jubilee found me. Now, typically, if you want to be on a Jubilee episode, you email them. They send out flyers, and you can request
Hmm.
to audition. And they found me off Instagram, and I was all about it. They did a couple Zoom interviews with a few of their interns, and then you're either selected or you're not. And they chose me because of my personality, I assume. But what they didn't know is that I'm not very confrontational, and
Hmm.
I don't do well when people are trying to speak over me, and I don't like speaking over people. So when it came to shouting with Blair and Blossom,
Hmm.
I was just silent. And as far as I've said this before, the Jubilee debate, I thought at least they would bring up a trans sports related issue, which I knew this before. They've already done a trans issue, and they had Blossom on there and some other trans women, and it was more about the sports. I wished I would have been invited to that one, but yeah, that's that really bummed me out. On my way home from California back to Vegas, I was on the phone with my mom after the Jubilee debate, crying, like tears rolling down my eyes. I'm like, "Mom, I didn't get to talk about sports, and
Hmm.
I didn't say anything. All I said was a bathroom deal." And I was just devastated at my performance. And a couple weeks go by, and I'm watching the comments on that video, and there was 30,000 plus comments just about me.
Hmm.
And I was like, I didn't say anything.
Were they
So,
positive comments?
oh, 100%, all of them
Okay,
positive.
okay, yeah.
It was crazy. Like, that thing got 2 million comments, I think, over
Oh
1 million.
wow. I
I
looked
was,
at that video today and I saw that that video alone has like over 4 million views.
hmm
It's insane. But we were talking about being overshadowed. Blair and Blossom had a lot to say on that debate. If you would have had the ability to actually say stuff about sports and women's spaces on that Jubilee debate, what would you say?
I would have just said that, I want to. There's, I used to have the mentality of, hey, if we have kids that are below puberty and they start taking cross-sex hormones, they will almost be close to a biological woman or a biological man if it's, a trans man. So
Mhm.
back in the day, I had some thoughts that, hey, there's some middle ground with Jubilee episode, right? There's some work we can do. We can make some compromise, and we can allow trans to compete in women's sports, but it has to be, a lot of rules and a lot of testing. But now we have so many middle-aged trans women who are just men, probably with AGP, but just guys, my age or later, who've already gone through male puberty, just wrecking the women's
Mhm.
sport. And I want to reach out to them and say, you've ruined it for any future chance of any generation coming up trans that they ever had to be what they want to be in the women's division in sports. Like, you've now destroyed it because America's fed up with it. They're fed up with the
Mhm.
bathroom, the sports, the prisons. Like, it's all just boiling over right now, and there's no going back. I don't think. I think too much damage has been done. honestly. And, I would have said that, the middle-aged transitioners, you guys need to just stay in your lane, because all you're going to do is ruin it for the generation before. But now I'm so mad that they've pushed so hard. I'm against transitioning kids now as well, below puberty teens. Like, that's just not healthy. And I know, being an athlete all my life, and this is another thing I would have used in the Jubilee debate, is that, people call this an anecdote, and it's true, it is anecdotal, but it's my lived experience. And being a professional athlete, I took steroids at one point. And now I've been on cross-sex hormones for almost 9 years now. I still retain my male muscles, my stupid man hair, these giant shoulders. Um, I can't tell you how, without sounding misogynistic, I still race mountain bikes. I don't do that professionally anymore, but I still race I still race that in the men's division. But when I ride mountain bikes, I ride with a bunch of biological women. I blow them away, like kill them on the trail. They can't even stay next to me. And I've been on hormones for 8 years, and that's supposed to level the playing field? Absolutely not. There's no way it levels the playing field. And I'm living proof, but when I talk to a trans activist or a younger trans generation, they're like, you're not taking the right hormones, or, bullshit, So, that's what.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder, when you have these middle-aged people who transition and want to do sports, I wonder if they're just trying to get like an experience that they didn't have when they were younger. And they kind of like wish, so they try to live like precariously through like the minors, and like, yeah, and keep on like pushing it, and telling all like the 20-year-olds, yeah, you can be in women's sports as a trans woman. Sometimes I wonder if that has something to do with it.
I don't think so, but I mean, who knows? I would love to sit down with any of these athletes that, like, Kylie Small, or even Leah Thomas, like the only one that made headlines. I would love to just sit them in a room without ABC or NBC or CNN there, or ESPN, and ask them, okay, you tell me honestly, from your heart, do you really believe you're a woman, and do you really, really think you should be in the women's division? Like, I want to hear them say that. Now, I have confronted some of these middle-aged trans people at mountain bike races that happened here locally, and they clam up because they see me coming. And I'm not saying I'm famous, but people know who I am, and they see me coming and they clam up right away. I'm non-binary transgender. I'm or they say I'm intersex, and I'm like, and they'll just run away. Like, I want to talk to them. I really want to do. I cannot get any of them to come on my YouTube channel and debate me and tell me why they think they should be in the women's division. They're too scaredy cat because they know they shouldn't.
Yeah.
As far as the kids, they do use that excuse, like, I need to play in the sports with the gender I align with, and that's, like I said, I want to let the kids play. I really do, but it's just not fair. It's even pre-Tanner stage, Tanner 1 or Tanner 2, whatever, under 12, like, there's still an inherent male advantage for boys, even before puberty. And they want to argue with me about that. So it's just like, you know what? At this point, just you're banned from everything. Just forget about it. Like, it's over. You're done.
So do you want to ban trans women in sports across the board? Like, I can understand, like, but for like medals and for like world records and for scholarships. So what if you just have like some average, like, let's say like masters swimmer wants to join like a masters team? Do you think people would have an issue with that?
See, that's where we could have had that.
Yeah.
The ground is, okay, as long as we stay out of the elite level and the trophies and the paying positions, let's let grassroots be grassroots. And if they want to do it co-ed, let's do it co-ed,
Yeah.
And everybody uses the same excuse, like, let's do an all trans division. So you have, juiced up on hormones trans men, which are women, competing against, biological men that have been reduced in juice, like they don't have that testosterone they had anymore, and let's let them compete and see who does the best. So that would be fun, but there aren't enough trans people in the world to do this with every sport imaginable. And some sports have 11 members per team, and like football, soccer, stuff like that. Like, it just can't be done. There's just,
Mm-hmm.
if we stay by the guidelines of, hey, trans people are only 0.1% of the population, well, if it wasn't for the social contagion that is the new trans trend, I call it, we would never have enough trans women to make a full team of anything, whether it's
Yeah.
volleyball, soccer, lacrosse. It doesn't matter. We'll never have enough trans people if we gatekeep it and make it so that we figure out who's really trans and who's not trans. And I see Lily White, non-binary is not transgender. I love it.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
Lily,
totally on board with that. Yes.
non-binary is not transgender, 100%.
Hmm. Yep. Before we move on from sports, so one thing that often gets overlooked when trans women try to say I belong in women's sports is that they don't consider the safety factor. Sometimes you have like sports like MMA where biological women are getting like completely annihilated by these trans women. Like I remember a story about one boxer that got their skull broken.
Yeah, that was well, the trans person's name was Fallon Fox.
Hmm.
They retired after that fight. Um, I don't. Alana McLaughlin is another trans woman that also fought a woman, but Alana did it. At least the other girl knew biologically she was fighting a man and signed on the dotted line. So I've always said that if the girls want to compete against trans women, as long as the girls know and they sign on the dotted line, I'm okay with that too, because the girls have accepted the fact they're going to compete against a man. So with Fallon Fox, that lying POS didn't tell anybody and just fought in the women's category until the last three fights. They announced, "Hey, I'm trans." You know, to me, it's absurd that nobody couldn't look at Fallon and go, "Oh my God, that's totally a guy." And her voice was more manly than mine. I mean, my voice is terrible, but Fallon Fox's voice was like, "Hey, you want to fight me?" You know, it was seriously that deep. And so yeah, Fallon Fox broke that girl's orbital socket, and that was her last fight. I don't know. I know Alana McLaughlin was gonna sign to fight another woman here soon. Alana McLaughlin is a former Army Ranger, was
Wow.
jacked. I mean, huge muscles,
Hmm.
like shredded like a bodybuilder. Fought a girl from Russia or Sweden, and the girl was beating Alana in like skills in the MMA fight, but once Alana grabbed her and threw her on the mat, the girl had no chance.
Hmm.
Zero chance. So yeah, the fighting thing, combat sports should be completely off limits, completely. And I don't know how much time we have, but I can tell you, I can find archives, arguments that I've had with biological women. Biological women say that they think it's okay for trans women to compete in boxing and MMA, and I'm like, are you crazy? And no, I've had them, I've had their coaches come after me and
Hmm.
say, if my female fighter wants to fight a trans woman, I'm okay with it. I'm like, you're insane. One and two, because I used to kickbox. I did kickboxing for about 8 years.
Hmm.
Um, at a 303 training center in Colorado with UFC fighters were in my gym where I trained. And when we would spar with women, we would just do co-ed sparring. Sparring is just light boxing, touch you up, here, kicks. No man ever went 100% against a woman in a gym boxing. Like, we always pull our punches with women. And these women coming at me saying, I've sparred with men and they go full on and I handled them, or I held my own. It's like, no, you didn't, because I've been in that environment for 8 years and I know no matter what a guy says, he's pulling his punch. Like,
Hmm.
it's not even close. You know, they've proven it. Grip strength is not even. We've, men have 160% more grip strength than a woman. Like, I can grab a woman and she cannot they can't get out of my hands.
Yeah.
161% more. That's so strong.
I never
You know,
knew it was 160% more. I never knew that.
yeah, there's some crazy numbers. Like in my mountain
Mhm.
bike, on average, I'm 12% faster, stronger, and climb and riding, pedaling harder than a professional woman who's a trained athlete at cycling. I'm still going to be 12% faster than her. So over a 100-mile course, I'm going to beat her by 12 miles. I'm be gone. Like she won't even see me.
Yep, that's insane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy. That's why I fight for women. Like it's not fair.
Hmm.
And I hate that fight. I hate that I have to be this way because I don't want to downplay women's athletic abilities. Women are great athletes. They're just built different. That's all there is to it. Like it's just the human anatomy is different. People just cannot get that through their thick skulls. I guess. Like
Yeah. So the next topic I want to go over is the thought of using the word cis, because I know a lot of people in the trans community like to refer to women as cis women, and I've heard from people in my own family, from my friends, from everywhere. I see that people are like, "Stop using it. I'm just a woman." What are your thoughts on this?
you're welcome, Lily. Just to say that, of course. Yeah, I hate the term cis. I went to a women's conference about 2 years ago in Denver, Colorado. Riley was there too, but Martina Navratilova, a lot of female athletes who are, in this fight against the trans thing. um, I had to correct my mom. My mom's always been supportive of me, and she supports. Like she has LGBT flags all over the front of her yard and her house, and so I had to calm my mom down. I was like, "Mom, we're going into the wolves' den here with tons of women who don't like me as a person because of what I stand for, and they all know me, and they understand that I'm there to fight for them, but I'm not fighting on their behalf. I'm just there to help support them in the fight against this trans nonsense." But I had to train my mom for 2 days not to use the word cis when she was talking about women. Just say woman,
Mhm.
you know? And I also had to tell my mom that don't call me she or her in front of these women. Just say Jessica. That's my legal name, Just say Jessica.
Mhm.
And I had to tell my mom it broke her heart to have women come up to me and go, "Hey sir, how are you today?" And I was just like, "Mom, just chill," because my mom's protective mom,
Mhm. Yeah.
she just the language that these people have decided to use, like where did cis even come? I mean, I've looked it up and I know what cis means, but it's
Mhm.
stupid. Like just a woman is a woman. If you want to be a trans woman, you say trans woman.
Mhm.
And I disagree with it like you do 100%. It should never been, part of the vocabulary brought into this whole
Mhm.
trans
Yeah.
thing.
I can understand its usage in like the science context, but a lot of people in the trans community will go and use it like out in society all the time. You're not a biological woman, you're a cis woman. And just like, is that
Yeah,
necessary?
I've heard the argument of
Yeah.
a trans person on a Matt Walsh thing say, "Well,
Mhm.
I have biological cells, therefore I'm a woman, so I'm biological woman," which is not. But so yeah, cisgendered, and I think it's the same when the term heterosexual became a bad name. Like, oh, they're cis het. That's what everybody says. Cis het,
Um,
cisgender, heterosexual.
mhm.
You hear cis het white, cis het POC. It's like, stop. Who cares about your sexual orientation, your gender identity, how you identify? Who cares? But you know, I will say this: one thing that is caused all of this inclusionary problems that we're running into is that, oh, hey Sarah, I see Sarah Delansky on there. I think I know her from Twitter. Um, the words uh, gender identity were rewrote into not the Constitution, but the rewrite of Title IX, and Canada adopted this as well. That gender identity can be considered biological sex, and that's where we ran into the problem where the government recognizes gender identity under the biological sex category, so therefore gender identity is the same protected right as a sex-based right, right? So a woman has a sex-based right of privacy here, prison, this and that. And now they said to include gender identity. So what we need to do is rewrite Title IX, which I think Trump's going to do in 2025, is we need to ixnay the word gender identity out of the sex-based categories. so it can't be a protected sex class. It can be protected against discrimination from, jobs, fast food restaurants, patrons of customers. Like, you could do that on the gender identity spectrum, but you can't include gender identity in sex-based rights. And that's where it gets fuzzy, It's like, well, we can't be discriminating against them just because they want to identify as a woman. I would be outing myself, and I'm running into that problem right now. My last YouTube video I talked about, I crashed my car and I'm no longer able to do Uber anymore. So I'm unemployed currently, and I'm having a really hard time getting job interviews. And when I do get them, I think I do well, and I think my appearance, maybe my age, I don't know, but I'm not getting a job. I've been searching for a job for 6 months now, and I'm still unemployed. So, boo.
I fingers crossed you get one soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next topic is the trans community saying that you don't need gender dysphoria to be trans, and then also nor have to work on their transition. This is one thing that really bothers me. I'd love your take on it.
Yeah, so the gatekeeping. I get called, I used to get called a gatekeeper. Now I don't see it so much anymore. Maybe I'm less active on social media, but yeah, there was this thing where, the elder trans generation, we would gatekeep it, and we weren't afraid to say things like, hey, girl, you probably need to work on that a little bit. I know Blair White is really good at calling people out for that. She gets a lot of hate for saying, no effort. And another thing that helped me out off the Jubilee debate was Blair White saying, look, Jessica has respect. She puts in the effort, at least, I've spent thousands, like over $50,000-$60,000 in surgery, and I still look like a guy, but it's at least the effort's there and there's respect to it. So gatekeeping was a good thing, and it's gone. Like, I've noticed even in normal, I hate to use this word, heterosexual circles, right? They don't gatekeep their things anymore either. Like, they're allowing, I don't know, I can't think of a good debate for heterosexual circles, like norms, what they would be against. But it's 100% the effort you put in and the gatekeeping. So when I transitioned, I couldn't get any of the surgery that I've had without a letter from my psychiatrist saying that I'd been on the chair or on the couch for 2 years. Like, a 2-year span of me talking to a therapist saying, I don't know, is this what I am? Am I not? I went back and forth for years. I was going to start HRT when I was 36 years old. I actually didn't start it till I was almost 40. So for 4 years, talking with therapists and doctors, and I wanted to so bad, but I didn't know why I couldn't do it. And I think that is gone now. I can take you in Vegas, I can take you to a doctor right now, and she will operate on you, or he, she, whatever, will operate on you without that letter from your doctor. Like,
Not knowing you, never seen you before, just walk in, I went to surgery, okay, just put down the money and you're good?
Rest, or I want these cut off, or, like, there's no gatekeeping, there's no safeguarding of anything anymore. So that's where I think it gave these kids, this younger generation of trans coming up, the ability to just say, hey, if you don't affirm me, I'm gonna whoop. And then it scared the parents, it scared the doctors, and they said, okay, well, we better operate and give them drugs, because if they don't,
I really hate this extreme where they're like, oh, if you don't give them this, and they're either going to eat themselves, or if you give them this, they're going to be happy. And I'm like, it's not absolutes.
Yeah, it's a damn shame, actually, that that's the case now. So I don't know how we get that back, other than just straight up putting laws in the books about, like the UK permanently banned puberty blockers from kids, minors, and I think Trump's going to try and do that. I don't know how well it's going to go in some state. If he pushes it back to the states, so Tennessee's obviously already passed it, so they banned it for kids. There's 24, 26 some states that have already said no, no kids are getting drugs, no kids are getting surgeries. So if you want to be trans, you got to move to Cali or Washington, one of those
Mm-hmm.
woke states. And my state's pretty woke. Like I said, I can take anybody, or even if you have a plastic surgeon that requires a doctor's letter saying you do suffer from gender dysphoria, I can get you that letter. Like you literally can Venmo this person $50 and they'll give you a signed, notarized therapist letter saying you have gender dysphoria. Like
Wow. I
there's
have
no
found. Sorry.
there's no safeguarding anything.
Yeah. I found some sites online, and there are actually some sites online where they actually give you your letters for free these days, and all you
Wow.
have to do is just show up to one like Skype call and talk to them for like an hour, and the next thing you know, they send it to you.
Yep.
It's,
I'm not surprised. Oh my god.
yeah.
For free, nonetheless. That's great.
Yeah. Yep. So the next question is: do you think trans acceptance is better now, or do you think we are going backwards?
It was better. Ariel talks a lot about this, how
Hmm.
LGBT as a whole has gone backwards. Like I said, 6 years ago, my girlfriends, and I just mean friends, just girls that are friends, um, would make me go to the women's restroom and make me sign up for the mountain bike races in their division. And I was like, no, 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 we're not doing that. So everybody was like supportive and like happy to see us doing this thing. Everybody was like, oh, I love this that you're. I love this for you. I hate that term because it's kind of like a I don't know, it's a lefty phrase or whatever you want to call it, but I love that for you. It's kind of like a gay term, I guess. Um, and that's how it was. It used to be so, fun, and people would see me in the grocery store and they'd be like, "Oh my God, you're so cute. I love you. I love your hair. I love your, makeup, or your clothes look really cool." Because I was putting in effort. I was really really mannish back then, but now I walked through the grocery store. I was at Walmart earlier today. Yes, I'm a Walmart girl. Um, and yeah, guys were staring at me like, and not the good way. Not like, I want our number. They were like, "What in the f- is that?" Like it's gone downhill super bad. So. And like the sports thing, I don't know that there is any coming back from this. That we've damaged society so bad right now. The LGBTQIA, I really shouldn't include LGB. It should just be the TQIA
Hmm.
and cut off the T. So the QIA has destroyed everything, in my opinion, for the trans community. So the queer, intersex, and asexual, whatever all that means, the plus plus plus, two spirit, I don't care. That's so dumb. It's childish, and it's ruined everything for trans acceptance. 100%. Like I'm lucky if I can get good service at a restaurant these days, just because there's so many people going, "Oh, are you gonna cry if I misgender you? Are you gonna fucking
Hmm.
call if I called you sir on accident? Are you gonna raise hell and write a letter to I hope my mom doesn't see this, but if I got misgendered at a restaurant, my mom would write a letter. Like,
Oh my.
she's
Have you
going,
seen those videos like Lily Tina going and filming getting misgendered? Yeah, this like it
I
doesn't help
commented
anything.
one of his. I'll misgender him on purpose just because he deserves it. But yeah, I commented on one of his videos today actually, and yeah, I would love to be there
Hmm.
when that guy gets misgendered and have him say to my face, "Oh, I don't feel good now. It ruined my day." So
Hmm.
what? You know,
Hmm.
you get, you get misgendered daily, every day. Like my boyfriend doesn't. I was at a car show today, and everybody, called me she, her, and it was pretty cool.
Hmm.
Um, I think because my boyfriend Kevin, he was with me, and he was like, oh, her car's over there, because I brought my Z and we were doing a little car show. So it was fun. But, had I been called sir or mister, I wouldn't care. Like, it used to kind of bum me out, I guess I could say. Yeah, I would say, I'd be like, aw. But per what made me blow up a little bit on the Jubilee debate was when somebody misgenders me. That just reminds me that I need to work on this. Like, this is my
Mhm.
problem.
Mhm.
I don't present well enough to be addressed as a woman, so why should I blame them? This is on me. It's my fault, right? I didn't transition soon enough. I didn't spend enough money on surgery. I don't do my
Mhm.
makeup right. I'm wearing some clothes that just totally gives away my body, So that's, yeah, like a knife in the heart. He says
Yeah.
that all the time, like a knife in the heart.
Just
I
pardon
got
me for 1 second. I have to pull my nose really bad. Hold on. I'm sorry.
you. Okay. I don't know if I'm still alive or not, but like a knife in the heart. Silly Tino. Silly Tino, am I right? Yes, you are right.
Sorry, I still have runny nose from being really sick.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
Yeah.
Laverne Cox. Oh, I used to like Laverne Cox when she was in Orange is the New Black. I was like, yes, she's my champion. She's a champion for trans women. But now she's like full woke, like kids
Mhm.
transitioning, and she wants bathrooms to be open season for everybody. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about if you get misgendered, that's the you problem. And I remember like early on in my transition, I used to use how people address me as to gauge like how my transition was going, and I could actually tell like the language change and how people interacted. So I like whenever someone like people used to call me sir, I never blew up on them. There were like a few instances with like some people I knew really close where I got a little bit too personal with them. But eventually I saw the language shift from being sir to gender neutral and then into everyone just assuming that I'm a woman.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
yeah.
you look like a woman to me. Like,
Mhm. Yeah.
you're way more possible than I am. Shit. Like,
Yeah.
I'm so old. My ship has sailed, so I don't sweat it anymore. Like,
Mhm.
that's just how it is. Like, it's called life. Get over it. Just have
Mhm.
to deal with it. So, I can spend more money on surgery, and my plastic surgeon wants to do more fillers in my cheeks, and
Mhm.
I've done the brow shave and the bioplasty on my eyes and stuff like that. So I'm just not down for it anymore. Like, I would rather live my life how I am and just be happy with what I got for the rest of my life as I get over 50. I don't want to spend the rest of my days in hospital rooms recovering from this or recovering from that surgery or this surgery. I just decided I'm done. I don't want any more surgeries. I might get a breast reduction, actually, not get rid of it, but I want them smaller.
Mhm.
Um, I might do that in the future, but yeah, it's for me, it's over with. Just I'm done with the
Mhm.
surgeries anyway. So.
Mhm. So we touched on women's sports, which was on my list. So the next one, I'm gonna have to read off my paper here because it's a long one. It says, "Do you feel that if the community, by and large, went back to trying to like assimilate with society rather than stick out, and got rid of the nonsensical self-ID practice that is pushed today, that women would have less of an issue with trans women in the restroom?"
Yeah, and I think that I touched on that a little bit earlier with it's
Mm-hmm.
all about the sex-based rights. Okay, so once I don't know that I think the sex-based rights was rewritten to include gender identity before Title IX, and I know that Canada um, for a long time has recognized gender identity the same as sex. So that's where we run into that problem, right? It's the gender identity. It's how I identify. So anybody, as we've heard on several TV shows like Dr. Phil and all these other ones where people are like, well, even my Jubilee debate with that guy Alexander who was sitting right next to me, him saying he's non-binary, and then Blair calls him out and says, "You're non-binary. You shouldn't even be on this."
Yeah,
That's
I thought this was a trans debate, if I remember correctly.
how it is.
Yeah.
Right? So I mean, he shouldn't have, and only a few people picked up on it when I said, "Hey, look, I know you probably can't handle yourself in the men's room, but I can. You know, I'm not afraid to be in the guys' room. They do when I'm in the men's bathroom. They do say things like the foot, but sorry, but they do say stuff like that. They'll be like, or they'll make some rude comment, but it's usually WTF. Like, that's usually the name, what I hear when I walk into the women's room, or they turn around from the stall and they see me in the men's room. Sorry, I said women's room, but in the men's room, they're always like, what the f- is that? You know, like, I hear that all the time. They'll walk out laughing at me and stuff like that. So I've never been physically threatened or harmed in the men's room. Sure, there's some verbal that comes my way, but whatever. Like, it's only words. What are they gonna do? But to answer your question, yeah, it's just the self ID thing has ruined everything, and everybody knows it, but nobody wants to, stand up and say it. So I think kind of like what happened with Trump. Nobody wants to say they voted for Trump, but look, 74 million people did, even though nobody came out publicly, or I mean, a lot of us did, but it's kind of like that. Now we're so fed up with it, we're gonna push back. We're just not gonna advertise that we're doing it. So nobody wanted to. Yes, that was the guy who looked like Boy George with the stupid hat on. To answer that guy's question, yes, that guy claims he's trans, non-binary, and that he should be able to walk into the women's room, just like any woman. And I was like, dude, I know you can't handle yourself, and a few people picked up on it on the YouTube video. They were like, Jessica low-key called that guy a pussy. I was like, yeah, I did kind of call him a pussy, because like, I can handle myself in the bathroom. It's not a big deal. And that dude's bigger than me. Like, he was pretty, portly, I guess you could use that word.
Did he say he was like 6 foot something, and like size 13 shoe or something when he was on the Jubilee debate?
Who? That
the guy you're talking about? Yeah.
No, Alexander's actually shorter than me. I'm 5'10".
That must be mixing up the people then. Okay.
Yeah, Blossom's like taller than me. I'm 5'10". Blossom's in the 6 foot something. Okay. And Blair, she barely comes up to my.
Yeah, she was like here on me when I saw her twice this year. So.
Right. Yeah, Blair's so petite. That's another reason she passes very well is her petiteness, her size. So, and that's with me. I wear just a chunky shoe, and I'm 6'2". Of course, we're gonna say, "Oh, that's a dude," like. So, just being self-aware is so important to me that especially since Blair brought that up about hey, at least Jessica tries. She puts the effort in. You guys follow her lead, or follow Blair's lead, for God's sakes. Like, but yeah, if we can get rid of those self ID laws, that's gonna be huge for women. That's what we got to do. And then we run into the problem of how do we police it? And they're gonna. Is it gonna go so far that they're gonna start doing genital checks at the door? No, but I just heard another person comment on YouTube today that private business owners may be able to have that right to say, wait, stop, let me see your ID before you go into the women's room. Like, if you're in a private business, they might get the power to start doing that. And the left likes to use that as oh, you want to see what kind of genitals this person has? Like, they think we're perverts. Like, they use that as their diversion tactic to say, no, we're just trying to make sure you're going in the right bathroom of your biological sex. But then you get coined as a creepy pervert because you want to check genitals. No, we don't want to check genitals. We just want to make sure people are safe and comfortable. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't think there's any coming back from it. It's too much damage has been done, I guess you could say.
When it comes to policing, I hate the argument that like, oh, you can do a genital check, so we shouldn't even worry about it. No, I think that even if it's going to be like a policing nightmare to enforce it, I still think we should fight to make things better, even if the enforcement's going to be like a great challenge or a big hurdle, rather than just putting your hands up in the air. So.
Yeah, I don't. For me, and this is a little bit it would be gatekeeping on my behalf if I passed as a woman, but since I don't, I think that, and the gender critical crowd doesn't like it when I say this, but I am still trans, so I have to draw the line somewhere. I can't just be 100% anti myself, but I think if you pass like 100%, most women won't know anyway. So just shut your mouth, go to the bathroom, and get out. The same with the trans man. Once a woman starts taking that tea and they get the beard and the broad shoulders, whatever, fine, use the men's room, because I don't want your hairy ass in the women's room either. So I think it just is 100% passability. And when I first transitioned, passability was a bad word. That was like this is now. It's like people wanted to say, "Oh, don't use passable. We're not here to judge." And it's like, well, now we need to judge. You need to be self-aware, and that's all that it is. Self-aware is just being self-aware that you either pass or you don't, and that's, in my opinion, as harsh as it is or sounds, that needs to be what decides whether you're going into the men's room or the women's room. But I see people posting pictures online, trans women, that think they pass, and people are love bombing them. Oh, girl, you 100% want, like,
Yeah,
dude, no.
I, I see those in support groups all the time. I'll see like a picture of someone and that they're obviously early in transition. And the question is, do I pass? And then everyone's like, yes, you pass. You look amazing. And they have like their makeup all caked on, and they can see like the 5 o'clock shadow. And I'm just like, you're not
Yeah,
helping. They just like you're trying to make them feel better, but you're not helping.
fucking crazy, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
but and that's what pissed me off about the Alexander walking in with the beard going, I'm not binary trans. Like, he had facial hair. I'm like, I've spent
Yeah.
8, maybe 10. I started doing facial hair removal 10 years before I even transitioned. I knew I wanted no facial hair. And I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on electrolysis because I am so dark, like my complexion. I can't do laser. Like, I've done laser on my armpits and, body parts that are white, but my skin is too tan, and I've had to do electrolysis for 10 years and easily spent $15,000 to $30,000 on electrolysis alone. That's called putting in effort, and look what I have to show for it. Nothing. Like, I'm still a dude. I still don't look like a girl, but I tried. I did the best I could with what I was given, and these people are just love bombing everybody. Nobody love bombs me, but um, and that's fine. I don't need love bombs. I just need, I just want to live my life. That's all I want to do.
Mhm.
And if we can keep these trans people out of trans women out of women's prisons and sports, then I can go back to living my life, just focusing on me, my career, my boyfriend, my relationships, stuff like that. Like,
So the next one is going to be on minors transitioning. I know you touched briefly on it already that you're against minors medically transitioning. Would you be okay with minors socially transitioning, or are you just completely good? All right.
100%. I say that all the time on Twitter. Um, if you have a kid that you think is trans, or you want to make that kid trans, literally that's what parents are doing. Let them socially transition. I'm all for that, 100%. Like, they need to experience life as maybe a non-passable trans person, because this is something I know I've never said before, but a lot of the passability comes from your DNA. Like, I've seen pictures of men who started on HRT close to my age, and they almost passed. But then I get to see their picture before they started. Like, they were a feminine man already. Like, so some guys just look like a girl from the gate. It's all DNA. Whether or not you will pass or not, and that's the greatest argument they have, is that if we don't get these kids on puberty blockers now before they reach Tanner stage 2, they're gonna they're gonna have a hard time passing. Well, you know what? Too bad. And so if they're not going to pass because we can't transition them until they're 19, let them experience life without drugs, without surgery. Let them do makeup, grow their hair out, wear girls' clothes, wear boys' clothes, whatever opposite they want to present as. Let them do it and see how they like it for a good 5-6 years. Because I know we're going to talk about this later about detransition and regret rates and stuff like that, but the kids need to feel it. And this is one thing where I do advocate to trans kids in social circumstances only. you know they're never gonna know if they don't try it, right? Like you can tell that kid don't stick your finger in the light socket, but he's still gonna do it because he doesn't know that it hurts until he tries it, right? So he's still gonna shock himself. So let them feel like, I did all my hair, did all my makeup, I went to the store to 7-Eleven, and the guy behind the counter still called me sir. Let them see what that feels like, and we can have trans people that aren't snowflakes like Alexander, for instance, or Shane from Jubilee. I see some people talking about Shane. Shane's that dude. That guy. Don't even get me started.
I'm not looking at chat very much.
I don't like anybody on the left. Like, there was only one person that was kind of cool, but at the end he made a rude comment about Blair under his breath, and I was like,
maybe I missed that one. What do you remember? What it was?
The camera didn't pick it up.
Okay.
When we were doing our outros, we had to sit in front of the camera solo, and say an outro like, I think today we came to a middle ground on bathrooms or military. And Blair did hers first and walked off, and then the trans man sitting next to me, it was a trans man. I can't remember his name.
Was it the shorter one, the one that was without glasses?
Yeah, the one, Andrew was on my team, but it was the one on the left. And he goes, "Oh wow, the air got a lot cleaner here now." When Blair walked away,
Oh my!
and I go, "Hey, dude!" And the cameras, they weren't on us. Our microphones weren't turned on. Like I don't think, but it didn't make the episode. But I know he said it because I was sitting right next to Blair, or right next to him, and Blair did her outro and then walked out, and the guy goes, "Oh, the air just got a lot fresher." I was like, "You guy, like, I don't want to elbow him, but." They no guns, no violence in the Jubilee studios.
Yeah. So we were talking about detrans. Why do you think the trans community has tries so hard to silence them and tries to make sure that they're not heard, and we call them like traitors or tokens, or like disown them and make comments that they don't count because they weren't trans?
Yeah, I hear a lot of that. I hear that a lot on social media, that the detransers get a lot of hate from trans people, trans activists, we should say, TRAs. But I don't see it because I'm not on the detransitioner side of life, so I'm not desisting, and I'm never going to detrans. But so I'm not in those Reddit groups and those chat rooms, those forums, to listen to the stories of the people who are detransitioning, and I haven't heard firsthand, or I haven't even seen firsthand where a trans rights activist will be like hammering on a detrans, you're just ruining things for the trans community and you should really shut up. And I've heard about that, but I've never seen it with my own two eyes. So I don't, for some reason, that one, it doesn't touch me as much, as far as like, it still bothers me that it happens, but like, it's not in my life. So I don't know the real answer to that question as far as, I mean, well, we all know the answer. It's just they don't want a black eye on the trans community. That's all they're trying to protect. Is just the more detransitioners there are, the harder it's going to be to get kids on puberty blockers, right? So that's why they fight so hard to keep quiet, to keep the detransitioners quiet. I mean, it's kind of a given. Like, I could see that in almost anything, like when you get fired from a job, or like if they're gonna recall some food off the shelf, they don't want to tell everybody. They just want to quietly recall it so that the whole name doesn't get tarnished. But in the end, you can't do that by law now. But just as an example, that's what they were trying to do, is like quietly pull these things off the shelf so that society doesn't freak out and never buy this product again. It's the best thing I can assimilate it to.
All right. So another one is one that I have noticed a lot is, do you consider yourself to be proud to be trans? Because I've seen a lot of trans people go, I am proud to be trans. And for me personally, I personally don't like being trans. I wish I wasn't trans. So like I don't understand this like mentality. Like I'm proud to be trans.
Okay, so for me, there's two answers to that question. One, um, I'm on your side with the I wish I was a biological woman, 100%. Like I hate the way I look at myself in the mirror every day. I can't stand it. Like, and this borderlines a little bit AGP, I guess, but like, I say an actual transsexual woman, when they see a beautiful girl, like the last thing on my mind is I want to sleep with that girl. The first thing on my mind is I wish I looked like her, and not for sexual pleasure, but just I wish I had the 120-degree hips, I wish I had softball thighs, like softball player thighs. The women joke
Mhm.
about that. They have big thighs.
I
They
get
hate
that.
it. I would all my mountain bike girlfriends. They're always like, "Oh, I hate my thighs." I'm like, "Girl, I would take your thighs in a heartbeat." So yeah, I wish I was a woman. God, like every day do I wish. But so yeah, there I'm not proud to be trans because of that. I wish I was a woman. But number two, I say this all the time on Twitter, especially. I'm embarrassed to be a transsexual these days. Like I don't even fucking want a name. I don't even want that title. Like it's so bad. It was getting even worse, and I hope now in January we'll be better off. But literally embarrassed that I don't even want to walk in front of women. I'm like anymore because of the sports issue and the prisons and the bathroom thing. I don't know. That sucks, but like it's embarrassing. Like I hardly want to go to any sporting events because I could feel the heat the other night. I was in Smith's, a grocery store that we have here, and this mom and her kids were standing behind me, and she was burning holes in the back of my head with her eyes. Um, Probably has a daughter in high school that's competing against a fucking trans woman and sees me as the enemy. So yeah, it's embarrassing. Like these middle-aged and teenage, college-age trans athletes who've transitioned late after puberty, and I get it on my DMs all the time, even on Facebook. Like Facebook is supposed to be friendly, family, this and that. Facebook DMs come to me all the time. I'm in Colorado and my daughter's got a trans woman on her, a male on her tennis team or her volleyball team. Like I hear it every day in my messages, and it's just like I'm constantly apologizing. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm
Mhm.
so sorry. Like, this is all I say. So yeah, I don't like being trans anymore. Like it's not even fun. Like it used to be, like I told you earlier, it used to be like kind of celebrated. Hey, you came out, you're doing your life, you did
Mhm.
go you, and
I
that was
remember. Yeah.
yeah, that was the fun part. But now it's you're the devil. You advocate for transitioning kids and da da da. It's like no, I don't. I really don't.
Yeah.
But how are people gonna know that just seeing you walking across the parking lot? Like nobody knows.
They're gonna make a lot of assumptions and make like stereotypes based on what they think of trans people. Yeah.
Yeah, hundred
So,
percent, 100%.
yeah. Yeah. Alrighty. So one thing I've noticed is that a lot of trans people seem to be making trans like their entire identity. Like I recently had someone come on my platform and try to make a claim that the entire presidential campaign was about trans people, and every single time I see these debates, especially when it comes to like women's spaces, trans people are always looking at it from like trans as being the priority rather than women.
I would say I don't. I mean, yeah, it became political, and
Mhm.
a lot of it was that Trump commercial that went viral with
I actually never saw it. I never actually saw it.
you never saw it? Yeah, well, it was
No.
mostly played on the East Coast, which was where you were at, right?
Yeah, I'm in Virginia.
Um, it never aired out here on West Coast television, but I did see off of Instagram, YouTube. But yeah, the they them and I'm for you, and I mean it's a valid point. Like he's not wrong. I guess is all I can say. As far as politicizing the trans community, I think both sides, the right and the left, made it worse than it really is or was.
Hmm.
In my opinion, I don't think it's I mean, I don't know. You look at women's prisons; it's pretty bad. So, with guys just identifying as trans just because they
Or
got caught.
showing at the prison, oh, I'm trans, and then getting shoved. Yeah,
Yeah, the sentencing comes down, and they're like, "Oh, 10 years? Yeah, I'm a woman." You know, like,
it's so wrong.
yeah, and that's okay in the UK. They're still allowing that, and Canada, and over in Europe. Here, I believe in California for sure. I know there was a case in New York where the guy said he was a woman, and they put him in Rikers anyway. And he's like, "But I'm a woman," and it was funny because it made headlines to me anyway that they like shoved him in the back and said, "Get in line. We don't play that identity bullshit games here." The prison guards are like, "Yeah, we don't play that here." And they just shoved him
Like,
in line.
nice try.
But he was a guy. Like
Yeah.
he was literally a dude. Like just claimed he was trans because he got sentenced. So how is that fair? So yeah, I'm just like, whether it's political or not, I don't know. I think they both played into it way too much.
Yeah. So we're going to take one step away from trans topics. One thing you are very passionate about is actually the Second Amendment. If you want to
Yeah,
talk about that a little bit.
there's my. Oh wait, where is it? That gun right there has a silencer on it, and that silencer that takes 6 months, I think, to get a silencer like that on a AR-15 like that. So it's not. I want to say that I did a gun episode on my YouTube channel too, but it's not an AR-15 that's doing all these mass shootings and these school shootings. It's handguns. That's because everybody's gonna see you walk around with an AR-15 into a school. Like they're gonna stop you before you get in there, hopefully. But that's their big argument. Is that the AR-15 is a weapon of war and stuff like that, and it's not. It's literally a rifle. Like you can hunt with it. You can put different bullets in it that act like a shotgun if you need to kill, varmints or snakes. Like I have snake shot bullets, like bullets that are made of BBs, so I can kill snakes because I live in the desert. We have diamondback rattlers here. We kill you. So I live in Las Vegas. Nevada's an open carry state. We can just carry on your hip as long as it's exposed. You don't even need a permit to do that here in Nevada. Now, you do need an FBI fingerprint and a background check to buy the gun. And where, the left likes to get it twisted is that, oh, you see my sword? That one's blue. She said she likes my katanas. Yeah, so you don't need a license to buy those. But you can, yes, Lily will be the downfall of everybody. So where was I with the guns? They like to lean on the fact that, anybody can just go get a gun. And no, you can't. Like, it's not that easy to get a gun. Like, I had to wait. I mean, you can do your background check in like 3 days and buy a handgun. Have already had that done for years, but to get that silencer on that AR, like that was 8 months. I had to wait, and I had to write a letter to the ATS, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. They have to physically approve, stamp you to have a silencer. And I've shot that gun on video with silencer. It's still freaking loud. Like it's not like the movies. Like so, it's not silent but deadly. It's nothing of that. It makes it so I don't have to wear. And you and I both know because we're both deaf in one ear that like I that way I don't have to wear two earplugs in one and my headphones when I'm shooting that gun, or I can put that silencer on any of my ARs. But it helps, keep the noise level down so I don't lose my hearing, So I'm learning sign language thanks to Cassie. Getting my sign language down, nice to meet you. My name is Jessica. I can do all that, but I need to protect my hearing, and that's what silencers or suppressors, call them what you want, but that's what they're for. And as far as the left always screaming that, these are weapons of war and mass destruction. It's like, it's not. Like, you can read the statistics. Mass shootings, only almost 99% of them are committed with handguns. And they're all stopped by somebody with a rifle, with an AR. I mean, except for a few of the mall incidences where the cop used a handgun, or it was a citizen that was armed and stopped the mass shooter, or stopped the guy from becoming a mass shooting. And I'm of the mindset of a well-armed society is a polite society. So there's a picture that was floating around the internet. It was years ago. It's an old picture. It's a picture of a diner in, I believe, I used to live in Arizona too, and there's a diner in Arizona. There's a town called, I can't remember, but we call it Gun Totersville. It's a redneck society. Everybody carries a gun. There's a gun in the back window of every pickup truck, right? So when you go into this diner and you snap a picture, it's a diner with the bar that people are eating breakfast at. Everybody has a gun in their back. Everybody has a gun in their hip. Girls have a gun in their purse. And you walk into that diner as a criminal, or you walk into that school or that mall, everybody's got a gun in their hip, you're going to turn around and walk away. You're not going to try and commit a mass murder in there. I say arm everybody that's not a criminal. Like, you have to have no criminal record. You can't have any restraining orders against you. I think even DUI, and then I'll get to this next point on that if we got time, about what we are as trans women. Are we mentally considered dysphoric, or are we a mental illness? The DSM-5, the DSM is that big argument. So the argument on that, well, let me finish on the first topic. Sorry, Jessica brain, it happened again.
It happens to all of us.
I totally have a squirrel brain. So, armed society, trained society to use weapons, and nobody will do anything wrong because everybody has a gun. Everybody walks around and knows that everybody could shoot anybody. Everybody's going to be cool. Everybody's like, hi, nice to meet you. Oh, it's so good. Everybody's going to be friendly. That's my opinion. That doesn't mean I'm right, but that's how I feel about the gun situation, is that a well-armed society is a polite society. So the other thing of that is that you can't be, if you want to get a permit to buy a weapon, and I had to get a permit so I can carry concealed, like I can hide my gun and walk around, and nobody needs to know that I'm carrying it. I'm carrying on me at all times, whether it's in my purse or on my hip. Like, in this state, I'm blessed because I can carry open, but I have to have a permit to put my gun in my purse, and I do. I have that permit. That takes being fingerprinted from the FBI, and another 6 months wait on that alone for a concealed weapons carrying permit. So, what the problem is that a trans person could run into if they do get strict on the 2A laws and say no mental illness is allowed to get a permit to carry a weapon. Well, aren't you and me, aren't we considered a mental illness? Now they keep changing it from the DSM-4 to the DSM-5 to the DSM-6, I think is out now, maybe even the DSM-8.
Yeah.
Are we a mental illness, or are we just a disorder? Do you know, Cassie? Because I'm asking you.
Before, it was considered I'm not sure if I remember the order correctly, but like a illness, and then it went to like a disorder, and I don't know what the DSM-6 is now.
Yeah, so
it's something else.
Yeah, they keep changing our status to fit their narrative, and if they're not careful, they're gonna exclude trans people from even being able to apply for a license to carry a weapon because I'm considered mentally ill because I have gender dysphoria, So we have to be careful. There's that slippery slope where, they keep farting around with the DSM-5 and, are we mentally unstable? Are we just dysphoric? Do we have gender identity issues? Do I have body dysmorphia? Yes, 100%, but yeah, technically, if they want to get crazy about the, mental disorders and who can carry a gun and who can't, I could be outlawed. They could take away my permit because I have 2 years, 4 years in the doctor's chair that says I'm medically, ill up here. And that could cost me my gun rights. You know, in Nevada, I could still own a gun. I just couldn't carry it concealed. So
Okay. So that would just apply for like concealed, not if you want to carry it on your hip, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. But some states don't allow open carry either. You like this is an open carry state. Then Colorado is not. Like you can't walk around with a gun on your hip. Or maybe Colorado might be, but there's a lot of states where it's illegal to bear arms. Like you can't just walk around with it on your hip. So,
Oh wow.
um, but if you were to walk down the street with an AR or something, cops are going to stop you. People are going to make a fuss. So you can legally walk down the street with a rifle on your shoulder, but you just don't out of common sense, common courtesy. It just causes chaos, or not chaos, but it just causes people to be uncomfortable, which is another aspect of being trans. Like we don't want to make everybody uncomfortable. You know, you that's the last thing on your mind is, you know, or the last thing you want to do is walk in the women's room and make them uncomfortable.
Mhm.
So that's why I stay my ass in the boys' room. You know, like I'm not looking to make women angry or feel scared. I don't want that pearl clutching moment for a woman when she sees me. I mean, I don't come off, I don't think, as an intimidating person. Like girls see me, you know, in the mall and they're like, oh, you know, hi, you know, but like I told you, the attitude lately has changed. But there's still some, you know, mostly liberal women out there that are happy for me, you know, I guess.
So moving on to the next one. I don't want to talk about this one way too much because I don't want my whole channel to be about politics. But thoughts on why so many trans people see Trump as like the worst and having like what is known as Trump derangement syndrome.
Okay. Wait, what was the question?
Says, what are your thoughts on why so many trans people hate Trump and often have what is often referred to as Trump derangement syndrome?
Right. So I think I would say over 50% of the reason why trans people feel threatened by Trump and have the TDS is because of social media. And I'd say another 40% is because of mainstream media spinning Trump as, you know, Hitler, the devil, the end of all trans everything. So what they read, what they consume, the news they consume is literally bending their brain into hysteria, hysterics, and fear. Um, telling, but again, like you said, don't want to get it too political, but they're literally using fear to try and scare everybody into hating this person, Trump, and you know, only to retain power. That's the only reason. I almost guarantee you, if the left knew that getting trans community to hate Trump wouldn't get them any more votes, they would drop it 100%. They would quit trying to scare the trans community, saying Project 2025 is coming and Trump supports it and he wants 2025 to be a part of the thing. And I've read some of 2025, not all of it, but some of it, and there's some legitimate points in there, like things that just are good for society and good for the longevity of humanity. Like literally, they want people to reproduce. Um, let's face it, unless you're like me and you transition late, which earns you a not true trans badge when you transition after you've had a kid, or if you turn into a lesbian after you've been in a relationship with a guy, like means you're not what is it, gold star lesbian? I think Vicky said that.
Yeah.
Or I would call it you're a lipstick lesbian if you've been with a guy and now you claim you're lesbian. You're just lipstick lesbian. So we don't. I don't feel that I get the credit. Like I'm not gonna say that I deserve. I don't deserve any credit, but I don't get recognized as a true trans because I transitioned late. I have a daughter. Um, it's a generational thing, and they hate us. So I think a lot of it is generational with Trump. He's, you know, in the upper echelon of his age, but then again, Biden was
He was way up there too. Yeah.
so. I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's in my opinion. I hate to be like too cliche about it, but I think it was the mainstream media and social media. Like, they just told everybody, this guy's gonna take away all your drugs and all your surgery, and rightfully so when it comes to the children. But as far as adults go, I don't think that. Um, I think Missouri has a pretty strict law against adults transitioning. You can still transition out as an adult, but they want 2 years of social media report cards, basically, among all the other doctor's notes you got to get. But they monitor your social media accounts for 2 years, and then continue that every 4 years of social media monitoring for an adult to even stay on HRT. Like, if you believe that, like,
Wow.
yeah,
I was not aware of that. Wow.
yeah, I want to say it's Missouri, but it could be Mississippi. One of the M states, I know for a fact, I read it because I got in an argument with somebody. The Attorney General, yeah, they probably do. So the Attorney General passed a law that said, I read all these stipulations. I was like, holy, like, it's pretty bad. Like, it's serious gatekeeping. But for them to monitor your social media accounts for 2 years, and then every fourth year after that to make sure you're still mentally able and stable to be taking cross-sex hormones, that's pretty drastic. Like, that's,
It's very, very extreme and drastic. Yes.
yeah. So, does Trump want 2025? I honestly believe he doesn't, because there's some shit in there that's pretty ridiculous. But could Trump be lying about the fact that he says he doesn't know anything about 25? Of course he could. Biden lies all the time. Kamala lies all the time. Everybody lies. Like, it's like human
I've
nature.
never lied.
I've lied plenty of times in my life, and I will admit that. But yeah, it's like when people get mad at me for saying that you lose all your privileges when you go to prison. Like, you don't get to call yourself a woman because you're going to prison. Like, everything. Well, they have rights. Criminals have rights too. Well, there's a difference between a right and a privilege. Like, you guys, they're not separating the difference between rights and privileges. You have a privilege to gender identify yourself into whatever you want and present to the public however you want. But you don't have a right to invade sex-based protected spaces. Like, that's what that space is for. And so that's where the waters get muddy with gender identity, sex-based, and then privileges and rights. Like, which is which. So I'm sorry I got off your topic there, but yeah, I don't know why, if the trans community genuinely hates Trump just because of social media, but I can only assume that's the only reason. I don't hate the guy. Like, I've been trans since before Trump was even in 2016. Like, he's always been cool to me. Like, I never followed the guy. I wasn't a big fan of his, like, watching the TV show or anything, but I saw what he did with the country. I worked in retail. I was a salesperson. My commission checks were never better when Trump was president. Like, from all of the industries that I've worked in, the automotive industry benefited a lot from having Trump as president because he was building the wall. Being in the Southwest region most of my life, next to the wall, and then when I was up in Colorado, I was next to the North Dakota oil fields. So I had all that dirty oil money coming down. So these people, these kids, 22-year-old kids were getting jobs up in North Dakota on drilling sites, making $80,000 in 4 months. In 4 months, they would get $80,000. They would go work for 4 months, come home for 3 months, go back for 4 months. Over $160,000 a year just to go work on oil rig in North Dakota. They were loving life. Coming to my store, spending all this money. Then I moved down south. I had the wall customers, everybody that was living in Arizona temporarily from Vegas, from California. They would drive to Las Vegas, spend all their money they made, because working on the wall, they got private contracting jobs with the government. They were making, again, $80,000, $100,000 every 6 months. Bank, right? I was making bank. They were making bank. The country was good. Like, everything was just working. And then, it all just got, once Biden took over and he closed down the oil fields and he stopped the wall, I lost my job because there was no, I had my customers literally telling me, yeah, I was working on the wall, Jess, and I lost my job because Biden said no more wall. Can you buy my lift kit back? Can you take my truck back? They wanted to return everything. They spent thousands of
Oh my
dollars on,
gosh.
yeah, and they wanted to return it all because they lost their job to Biden. Like, so as a trans person, I give two shits about being trans when it comes to putting food on the table, right? I was still taking my medications and doing my surgeries and scheduling all that stuff, but I didn't give a shit about trans rights. I was more concerned about eggs and chicken and meat and water. Those are the things. That's what
Happy?
trans people should be concerned with. Making
I,
them, yeah, having a good life for yourself. Like, who gives a shit if somebody calls you a dude? Who cares?
I keep on talking, and I get in a lot of like disputes with some trans people because like I did vote for Trump, and they're like, "Why did you do it?" And I was like, "Well, there's a lot of things that I don't agree with just on trans topics, but there's so much more than just trans topics." So, and they just want to focus on like one thing.
Yeah, they want to focus on the taking the medication away and taking the surgeries away. It looks
Yeah.
like, you know, you need to focus on being a contributing member to society so we don't fail as a country first.
Yeah.
Then worry about your trans rights, that you pretty much have just as a human. Like, it's not that crazy. Like, again, differentiating rights and privileges, that's big. You don't have a right to be able to buy cross-sex hormones. It's a privilege, but because they labeled the DSM-5 that we're crazy, and if we don't get these drugs, that's healthcare now. That becomes a right, I guess. So it's like, huh, damned if I do, damned if I don't. I guess that's the only way I could say it.
So the next one's actually going to be about being deaf in 1 year. You already mentioned it. Like some people on my channel know that I'm completely deaf in 1 year, and I have hearing loss in this year. But you want to tell your story about you?
Yeah, that's why when you see you're talking, I'm listening in because I'm deaf in my right ear. My right ear is completely deaf. That's why I constantly pull my hair behind this ear because it's my good ear. So I'm trying to hear as best I can. So otherwise, people, I don't usually play with my hair this much, but to try and hear. And I was born this way. So my ear canal is basically the size of a Q-tip in my right ear, the ear that's deaf. Like, the hole is so tiny, they can barely get that stupid eye. Guy can barely get that little stethoscope in there, the little eye thing that they use to see. Now my right ear is bigger than normal. Like, I think my ears on the outside are about the same size as far as I can tell, but I can barely get, like, I can't get a pencil eraser in here, but I can get a full pen in my ear over here. So my eardrum is there. The bone that taps on the eardrum that vibrates when you hears noise, it taps on an eardrum and transfers that signal to your brain that transmits sound. So I never developed, those bones are there, but they never developed large enough in order to create a functioning ear. So I didn't even know I was deaf until, I want to say, elementary school. My mom, the teachers would do those stupid hearing tests, beep, beep, beep. You've done those, and that's when they would, Dixie, did you know Jessica's deaf in one ear? And she was like, oh my god, which I think it's hereditary with me because this is a really sad story that I have, and um, I lost a cousin of mine has a child, and he committed suicide by alcohol. And I don't know if it was suicide 100%, but he drank himself to death, and he abandoned a daughter and a wife who was kind of addicted to drugs. But watching them grow up, they had a kid together, and for the first, I think, 6 years of that child's life, that child was deaf in both ears. They didn't know
What?
because they were so focused on alcohol and drugs, they were yelling at this kid, and I didn't understand it. When they would come over for Thanksgiving, they would be like screaming at this kid, like, Alexa, don't do that. And the child would be playing, and then all of a sudden the child would go like that. So they assumed, but what it was, you know what it was? They would stomp their foot.
Yeah.
God damn it, don't you hear me? And the kid would feel the vibration and be like, oh. And could you imagine going 6 years old? Like, you're supposed to be able to talk by now, and all you see is this all your life, and you're like, you don't know how to tell your parents, I can't hear you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in tears when I learned that my cousin was raising a kid that was completely deaf and didn't know it because of I don't come from a rich family, so they were impoverished, like trailer trash, like, yeah, a bummer. And it kind of makes me sad talking about it now, but yeah, just to see a deaf child like getting screamed at, because they can't hear, but they don't also know how to sign to say, hey, I don't know, I'm not hearing you. So that was a really traumatic moment in my life when I was in my 30s when they were younger than me. They didn't have their kids as young as I did. So, that's bad. Like, to have a child and not know the child is deaf until they're 6 or 7 years old, that tore me to pieces. And then going through ear doctor after ear doctor, everybody's like, oh, get a hearing aid, get a hearing aid. It's not that with me. It's not a hearing aid. It's my bones are there. Nothing makes the connection. So now, this was back in the 70s when I was a child, so they didn't have these surgeries that they have now. I mean, shit, they're growing new ears on pigs, right? Like,
yeah, my mom was telling me about that, and I was just like, what?
they have mice,
Mhm.
mice run around with ears on their backs. Like, they're growing human ears on the backs of mice.
Mind blowing.
Yeah, so I think if I could get a job, this is a pity Jessica party. If I could get a job, I could get some health insurance. I haven't had health insurance, you guys, in like 6 years. So I've paid for all my surgeries, all my medication, all my cross-sex hormones out of pocket for the last 6 years. So anyway, but I would love to go see it. That's my number one goal now. Fuck this trans thing. Like, I'm as good as it's gonna get. I want to go see an ear doctor and see if they could do a surgery inside my ear. Maybe make those bones make that connection. I would love to hear a song in stereo with headphones. You don't know. I don't know why, because I'm a musician too. Like, when I hear songs and the guitar goes from the left channel to right channel, I don't get to enjoy that like everybody else does.
I always put all my settings on mono.
my my friend April told me to do that, but I refuse to listen to lower quality music because I want the high, crispy cymbals and the lows and the bass. So yeah, mono would do that, but I want to experience that. Like, there's a reason when music artists create music, they do left right channels. Sometimes they'll do lyrics only on their left speaker and the guitar only in the right and drums in both. It's like a musical experience. Like, this shows my age because I'm listening to like Pink Floyd. They were big back then, and they did a lot of that sound mixing. I want to hear some funky music. Come on, little pretty lady, won't you dance with me? Like, that's done opposite speakers, and I've never experienced that in my entire life through headphones, and I want that so bad for myself. That is something I'm willing to go to get surgery for. I'm not willing to pay out of pocket because I can't imagine what that would cost with no health insurance to do inner ear surgery. I mean, maybe it's even free. I don't know, but I can't even get in to see an ear specialist because I don't have health insurance.
Yeah. So hopefully you get that insurance soon and you can get that looked at. So I know for me, like, I never understood the whole concept of like directional sound ability until I was actually an adult. It never like occurred to me really. But I remember afterwards, like, if I wanted to know where a sound was coming from, I'd have to do like a 360.
Oh my god. Yeah, I guess you can do that.
Yeah, just
So,
do 2 360s really fast, and then I can pinpoint exactly where it is. Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
that's one way. I mean, you
Mm.
adapt, right? You adapted to
Yeah.
that. You figured it out.
Yeah.
So with me, when people talk to me in public, like I always stand on this side of people. I always
Mm.
make people over
I
here
do
so I
the
can.
same.
And when I was in high school, people would always be like, "Why does Jessica always turn her head when I'm talking to her? She
Yeah,
looks
did
the
you
other
like?
way."
Yeah, I've been doing that a lot in my life.
I'm
I'm more cognizant about doing it. So like when people are talking, I will like position myself so that I can hear them and like lip read them. But I try to make sure that I'm not like this.
I do. I still to
Yeah.
this day I'm like,
They're like look for an answer.
they're like, "Hello, I'm over
Yeah.
here." I know, but I can't hear you if I look that way. I hear nothing.
Yeah. Like
And
my mom, for instance, she's blind in one eye. So if I'm on the side where I can hear her, she can't see me. And if I'm on the side where she can see me, then I can't hear her.
well,
Yeah.
hear no evil, see no evil. Wow, that's
Yeah. So
that. But
um
oh yeah, go ahead.
I was about to say there's one thing that I went through some things on YouTube and watched a lot of your videos with other people, and you mentioned that you wanted to be a fighter pilot when you were younger, and I
Yeah,
also wanted to be a fighter pilot when I was younger, and I learned early on before middle school that like in elementary school they keep on telling kids, oh, you can be anything you want, and I was like, I want to be a fighter pilot, but then I learned before I got to middle school that that would never happen because yeah.
yeah, me too. Yeah, they're like, no, you can't. You're deaf in one ear. You can never fly a plane. I
Yeah.
was like, damn it, really? That bummed me out. I even went through junior high school thinking I could. I joined the JROTC, the Junior ROTC
Mhm.
program, to try and get into the military so that I could fly planes. And then I dropped out of the junior ROTC program because they did an ear test and they're like, you can't, you're deaf in one ear. So I was like, really? Oh, that
Mhm.
sucks. The other thing that drives me crazy that I don't go to a lot of bars, but I've had two friends with birthdays lately, and they both decided to do their birthday parties. We're in Vegas, so right, people drink and gamble in Vegas, right? So they were birthday parties at a bar, and the entire night is a waste of my time. And I try and tell my roommate that all the time. It's like I can't. The minute I walk in the bar, if the DJ's gone, I can't hear anything. Like I literally cannot hear nothing because my hair or it's just too much background noise, and I only got one ear, and I'm like trying to point my stupid ear at everybody that I might want to hear what they're trying to say. People talk to me all the time, and I just
Yes, I can totally relate. Any some like on that a lot of deaf people or people who are hard of hearing, they will actually just kind of like brute force like what someone said, based like try to like fill in the blanks. And sometimes my brain will fill in things, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure they didn't say that.
yeah. I think you're right. I've heard some pretty weird shit said to me at the bar, which they didn't really say, but I swear to God, that's what I heard. So, but yeah, this girl must have talked to me probably half the night the other day on Tuesday night. Actually, it was a Tuesday night birthday party. I didn't hear anything she said. Like I might have heard one or two words, but the entire conversation was pretty much no idea what she said the entire night. I just kept nodding my head. Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, those are the answers I give all the time because I can't hear, and I don't want to sit there and go what, what, and then growing up in high school, people make fun of me because I would, they'd ask why you turn your head when we talk to you, and I'd say I'm deaf in my right ear, and they go, huh?
Yeah, I still get that joke, but
Yeah.
I never got made fun of in high school for being deaf. Or I never told people. Most of the time, people never knew.
Hmm.
But,
I wanted a difficult life, so I told everybody all my problems. So
yeah.
yeah, it was. I hate that joke. Like when you tell people I'm deaf in one ear, I can barely hear you, huh? And it's like, am I supposed to laugh now, asshole? Like really? Like think I've never heard anybody say that to me before?
Like how original.
So
Yeah.
stupid. It's annoying.
So moving on to the last question before we open it up for chat questions and possibly people coming up here to talk to us. You have a YouTube channel, and I'm not sure exactly what your plans are for the YouTube channel, but you've had You've been doing YouTube very consistently for the last year or two. If I can look through your videos, and you have 2 videos as old as 11 years. For any YouTuber that wants to possibly start a YouTube channel, what would be your advice to them? Maybe if they are having like a confidence problem or not sure how they're going to be received.
I would say you need a little bit of lightning. One, you can either do that, you can either blow up like my sworn mortal enemy is Dylan Mulvaney. Like
Okay.
I hate that man more than life itself. And part of it probably is jealousy. Like that dude made millions off of YouTube and or TikTok, whatever. Like if you can be so controversial that you blow up and get your 15 minutes and then you can get some sponsorship deal, some company dumb enough to pay you a couple mil, like you can do it that way. Either do the controversy thing or just somehow find some niche that just blows up, like Dylan Mulvaney did. Blair White did it over time. Didn't take her long, but it took her a couple years to develop a following, but she did it by being brash. That's the word.
Mm-hmm.
Very brash, opinionated, strong mind. Will like it's kind of like I don't like drag queens and I don't like going to drag shows, but there's a trick that drag queens have. If you're afraid to get up on stage and perform drag, like the one word is commit. You commit to that thing 100% and you can succeed at it. Now the reality is there are some people who have committed everything, and I can name some names I won't. Well, there's a talking head trans channel, Marcus Dibbs. I think Marcus Dibbs. Do you know him?
Mm-hmm.
He's just what we call a talking head, which is kind of what I do. But I try and bring on people to talk to them because I prefer this method of YouTubing. I don't like just sitting there bitching at the camera all day. Like I can, but it just gets old. Feels like I'm a broken record. So you can do it that way. Either get famous, say something controversial, blow up that way via TikTok and social medias, or you can commit and just focus everything you have. And if that's the route you're going to take, I say the best thing that I did was go back. I know it sounds childish. Go find the Mr. Beast video where he's done, I think, 3 interviews, maybe even 4, where they asked him, how did you start your YouTube channel? Because Mr. Beast has probably the largest YouTube following in the world next to Joe Rogan, I think. And Mr. Beast lays it out perfectly. He says, you put out content every day, regardless of what you think it is, you put it out there. People will tell you if they like it or not, and that's what you go with. So if this is your genre and that's what you want to do, you do that. And you don't worry about editing or taking out the and the ands. Like that just shows people that you're human.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll have too much time editing and you won't get your material out there. But it has to be every day. And Mr. Beast lays it out, a complete roadmap of how to blow up on YouTube. Some people follow it, some people do, some people don't do as well as he did. Nobody will ever equal what Mr. Beast did, or I don't think anybody will ever get to where Joe Rogan is, as far as podcasting goes. But those are people to look at. Like you can pick your genre, but if you keep, I think that if you keep bouncing around like this genre, Polaroid, you even got people. So if you keep bouncing around, you're never gonna find your niche audience, maybe, and that's a bad thing. Whereas I hate to use Blair, but she's a good example. She has 1.2 million followers or whatever. She's stuck with it, just hardcore, just driving home that message. But hers was more of a reactionary, and this is my life, and almost similar to Dylan Mulvaney doing his thing was the girlhood days or whatever.
Oh, that was so annoying. I hated that.
Yeah, I want to do. I'm so glad he lives in the UK now. But Blair was started out just like, hey, this is me, this is Blair, this is my channel, and this is what I did today, and this is my pink Mustang, and it just started out with her just talking shit about her life, like just stuff she does and things she was interested in, and then it turned more political once the TRAs came out and this whole gender identity shit went crazy and the trans trend started. So that's when Blair started really putting the brashness that I talked about. She's so brash that people have to listen to her, and that's why she got. I think of the Jubilee debate, it was me, Blair, and Sarah that were Jubilee sought us out. I don't know where Andrew came from. He has a small Instagram following, but he doesn't have a YouTube channel. So, like I said, if you can get on a Jubilee show, that helps. I think that
I would absolutely love to be on Jubilee if they have another like trans one,
yeah,
trans-specific one.
Go to their website, you can apply to be on any of their shows. I've been asked back 3 times now. Unfortunately, I actually applied to do a Jubilee debate on vegetarians versus or vegans versus meat eaters. I'm a meat eater, and they turned me down for that one. They actually asked me to go on the Democrats versus Republicans debate, where there was some other trans people there. I wish I could have, but I had a race that weekend, so I turned down Jubilee. Can you believe that? Like, they asked me to come back and do more episodes. They've asked me twice, and both times I've had to turn them down. It's easy for me to go because it's in Ventura, California, and all you got to do is all I have to do is drive there. It was like Sarah and Blair and Andrew, all those people had to fly to Cali, whereas me, I just drive 4 hours, like, and just drive there.
You guys drive there, yeah.
I turned down 2 other Jubilee episodes, which I did bum me out, but to be honest with you, to answer your question, I guess, Jessica Squirrelbrain, I'm probably not going to continue my social media presence very much. I haven't decided 100%. I would like to know if I could not get a job in the real world. I guess I could go back to being a YouTube talking head, but the only thing I'm passionate about is women's sports, spaces, prisons, and there's plenty to talk about, but I feel like I'm just repeating what shouldn't need to be said, I guess, and I find it really hard to break to the other side of the wall. That's the people that need to hear what I have to say don't want to listen to me. Those are the trans rights activists, the people on the left, the progressives, whatever. You're not my enemy. I just want you to listen to me, hear what I have to say, or come talk to me about it. And don't try and throw all these, I've got peer-reviewed studies that show that kids are better off transitioning, and that the Air Force did this study in 2017 that tested 16, 17 trans athletes, and well, you know what? I know the falsehoods of all those tests and those studies. The Air Force one, it was self-reported times that they just said, okay, so you said before hormones you ran a mile in 6 minutes, now you're running in 7 minutes. Okay, all right, that's the report. Like, that's it. That wasn't done in good faith.
No.
That's to protect women's sports. That's just literally the Air Force said, how many push-ups did you do before you took hormones? And now a year later you can only do 3 less. Okay, that's good. So they're going on those numbers from that Air Force study done in 2017. Still to this day, people cite that test, and I'm like, read the fine print. It says right there at the bottom of the report, all test results were self-reported by the trans athletes. Of course they're going to go, yeah, I've been on hormones for a year, so I must be sober, They're not going to try as hard. Like, bullshit. It's so stupid. I hate that. But now that Trump's in office, like, I don't have to do this anymore. Once he signs that executive order and bans all trans inclusion in sports and trans inclusion, that's only going to work in the NCAA, and then the private organizations like the LGP, the golf, NBA, WNBA, all those organizations, they're not government controlled. So the private organizations like UCI, they have to follow hopefully they'll follow with the government and make rules to keep men out of women's sports, but there's nobody to make them do it. Now, college will have to make them because the government's going to say if you allow trans women in women's sports, we're going to pull your funding.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now under the Biden administration, if you don't allow trans women in women's sports, they'll pull your funding. Well, now it's going the other way. So we win, right? Or my side wins. But so now I'm just like, okay, if this gets solved, my fight is over. I don't have to be on social media. Would I love to be on social media? Yes, I would love to do a show with you every day where we had people on the show we could interview. We did a live, or whatever, like Tim Pool or Joe Rogan, Blair, whatever. That would be so fun to be
It would be fun, yeah.
a personality, social media personality. I would love that. I don't even need to be an influencer. Nobody wants to be like Aunt Jessica. I can tell you that. I'm old, and it's just I don't want to be an influencer, but I would love to have social media presence, so that people might learn from my experiences, my anecdotal life experiences about being trans, about being a boy, about competing as a professional athlete. Just going through life like death in one ear. Things that people don't think about. That has affected you and me throughout. You worse than me, but watching my cousin or niece grow up, not knowing she was deaf.
That's actually very common for you have someone who's like completely deaf from birth, and then they have like no language access. They don't get the resources they need and stuff like that. That's very common for deaf children.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, some families don't have the means to be privileged or whatever, have the money that it takes. And I want to say, Sarah, thanks. She said that it reflects nice on me that Jubilee reached out to me. And unfortunately, I race too much. So I love riding a motorcycle in life. That's the two things I love: my mountain bike and my motorcycle. I really love doing that. And I just couldn't sacrifice the race to be on Jubilee, I guess. I don't know. But like I said before, I'm not very confrontational. Like, I mean, if you push me, like, if you're in my face, like, you're going to get...
Like blossom in your face?
Yeah, like, I have no problem with that person. As far, hey, Jess, I still ride my 1989 CR500. Wow, that's a brave bike. That bike's got some power. But yeah, like, I'm not one to shy away from a fight, but learning kickboxing and being trained in martial arts definitely helps a person in real life scenarios. Like growing up as a kid with a lot of testosterone and road rage, I used to get in fights all the time. As a kid, like, and I'm talking my 20s, I would pull over on the highway and get out of my car and fight you, or punch your windows until you got out of the car to fight me. Like, I was an angry child, like, angry kid. And, once you learn a discipline, whether it's karate, taekwondo, jiu-jitsu, whatever, you literally can walk away from anything. Somebody could be spitting in your face, calling you every name in the book, almost punch you, and you can literally go, dude, I don't need this from you, and you don't want this from me. Goodbye. Like, you can walk away proudly because you know you have the discipline inside you. You know you could take this person to school and really hurt them bad, but you just don't because you know you can, and that's good enough. Like, you have that self-confidence, and that's enough, and you can walk away from anything. So that's my mentality now. Like, especially being on hormones. I don't have any testosterone in me, so I'm just like, I'm totally peaceful about it. Unless I am around like Jeffrey Marsh, Dylan Mulvaney, Bloss. I get so angry. I'm like, oh my god, my male side creeping up. Like, here it is, my voice peaking. Like, so the guy in me comes out when I start talking about those idiots. But So,
are you ready for some questions from chat or for people to pop in?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So chat, go ahead and start asking your questions in the chat. And if you would like, I pinned the link in order to come into the StreamYards live with us. You can pop up and talk to us in voice or video. I just obviously ask that everyone be respectful. So let me see. Let me go back up through here. Here's one.
Okay.
For Jessica, you can read on your screen, can't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was harder to tell, your family that you were transitioning or that you were conservative? Ooh, that's a good one. Now, there's two answers, I guess. My mom, I grew up in a Democratic household on my mom's side. My parents were never together. I was a one night stand, basically, which I think is maybe why I'm deaf in one ear because my mom was high and my dad was drunk. So, um, I was just a child of a one night stand. So my parents never were together. I've never known what it's like to be in a complete household, right? I've always had single parents. And I grew up in my mom's house, which is all Democrats. So I grew up poor. Like we ate fish sticks and macaroni and cheese every day. That was what I grew up eating, and Tostino's pizza sometimes. So I always knew that I wanted to be a conservative Republican from a young age because my mom and my grandpa would throw shit at the TV saying, "Oh, Republicans and Democrats the way." Like they were so hardcore Democrat. I was like, if this is the life of a Democrat, I do not want it. I want out of this life. Like there's no way. I don't want this. So they all knew right away I wasn't part of their cult or clique or whatever. As far as telling my family, that I was transitioning. It was easy for everybody. My sister, my brother. I have a younger brother. I have an older sister. One, they're both, I think. Well, no, my sister's liberal. My brother's Republican. They both were happy for me. The one thing we didn't do, and I think I talked about this on Voices with Vicky as well. Shout out to Vicky. I never told my dad because he's in his late 70s and my dad still thinks I'm his son. Like, and I still am his son. I don't mean to twist my words. Me and my sister got together and decided as a group that even though I'm living this life full time, my IDs, passports, birth certificate, everything's changed. My dad will probably take to the grave never knowing this about me. And we decided this together that it's not worth the stress to put on him here and here. I don't want my dad to deal with that heartache that maybe he failed as a dad. I don't know what his response would be. I do go through days where I wish I could tell my dad that, hey, this is me now, but we just don't because, let him die a happy man, I guess, is a stupid way, I think, to put it. Sorry, I'm crying. Yes, I get emotional. You know what it's like. You're on hormones, right? So, yeah, I don't want to tell him. I mean, I do want to tell him because I want to see what his reaction is going to be, but I don't want to see him get hurt. And my sister thinks he would hurt
There
me.
we go.
Oh
my gosh, so fast.
I guess that's the biggest drawback is that my sister's afraid for my life that he would come after me as, trying to hurt me. And I don't think he would do that because he loves me. I'm still blood child of his. But yeah, so I never told my dad, but everybody else, my whole family knows, and they all support it. I didn't care. It didn't bother me to come out to anybody. A lot of the kids I went to high school with recent, when I transitioned back in, my 30s or, back then they all knew. And, some of them don't talk to me anymore. Some of them still do. Some of them supported it. Some of them didn't. I didn't give a shit. Who knew? It doesn't matter to me. Like, I'm not that person. I'm not that trans person that you don't come to me and say, hey, Jessica, when I visit Vegas, what's trans friendly? Like, trans friendly does not exist in my head. There's no such thing as trans friendly. You're either trans or you're not. You're either going to go somewhere or you're not going to go somewhere. But you better not go somewhere because you're trans. That's stupid. Like, that's dumb. Like, I'll walk through the biggest redneck city you can pick. Any redneck city you want. I'll walk right through it with my fucking hair all done up and wearing some skimpy ass horde costume or whatever. I don't care. Like, I don't care. What are you gonna do, right? So I guess that's my long drawn out answer to Lily.
Yeah. Hi, Lily.
Hi, Lily.
Hey, how are you?
Doing well.
Okay, so I have my headphones on because I don't want any feedback from you. But okay, so as I'm sure Cassie has actually figured out, and I think Jessica probably has figured out, I am, all right, I'm a biological woman. And also I am, oh, I'm sorry, what? Oh, um, so I'm also pretty right wing, not like super far right, but probably about maybe not even as far right as Blair White is. But do you, either of you, have a discomfort with women who, and I don't think I'm a TERF, but I think that I would be called a TERF by the current powers that be. But do you have a discomfort with biological women or right wing women? Has there been a problem with that?
Do you want me to answer?
Sure, you can go for it. Yeah.
Um, Being that I've been to several women's conferences concerning the issues of sports and spaces, I have met some pushback. Um, I do consider myself a turf. I made the turf list in 2021, I believe, the Twitter turf list. I'm on it.
Oh, good job.
Yeah, I was so proud. I retweeted that thing so many times because I was like, oh, I didn't make it, and then somebody went and researched it and found me. Like I didn't find myself. They found me on the turf list. I was number 1,667 turf, right?
Is
So
it still being updated?
no, they took a page down. In
Okay.
2023, I think they took it down. So, but Lily, to answer your question, do you know what a wolf is? Have you heard the
No.
wolf? You can Google it, look it up. It's basically a gender critical turf, like the most extreme feminist person you can think of, right? A
Okay.
wolf. Yeah, I was seated at a conference with two wolves on both sides of me, and they both made sure they called me a guy the entire conference for 3 days. They both addressed me as he, sir, and Mister, right?
Okay.
and and that's fine. And that was one of the conferences that I was. My mom didn't go to that one, but there is such thing as a wolf, just higher up on the
It's a really turfy turf.
yeah, super higher than first. Um, so yeah, I actually had another turf reach out to me. Oh, did your video fail? Oh, there we go.
Probably. I use my phone as my camera, and so it has to. It looks like it picked up again.
Okay, yeah, I picked up. Okay, so yeah, I was moving in slow motion there for a second. Sorry. Um, I had a few turfs reach out to me. They found me on Twitter and said, "You were at the Denver conference and you should have never been there. Like, I'm offended that you were there. You do not speak for women. You don't speak on women's behalf, and you don't ever get to tell anybody how they should feel about women." I was like, wait, like, I have some hardcore rad femmes, I call them, or GCs, gender critical, that come after me, and ooh, they call me every name in the book, and I'm like, okay, I get it that you think that they think that just because I exist, that I'm advocating for transness inclusion in everything, right? They think that
Right.
me walking
I don't get that feeling from you at all. Not even a little bit.
and it's nice to hear a woman say that, but most women do support me as long as I keep my language correct and don't say I'm speaking on behalf of women. Like, no, I'm just trying to speak, up for women. Like, I'm just trying to support them. And even I get my tongue twisted sometimes, and I don't say the right things. Like, yeah, I'm speaking on behalf of women because they don't deserve this shit.
Well,
Like,
and actually, in many ways, and I hope what I'm about to say does not like cause you some gender dysphoria. So please forgive me if what I'm about to say it's not my heart. But in many ways, you still have a lot of that maleness hardwired, and part of your maleness is that you protect women.
oh my God, yes, thank you. High five to that. Like,
Boom.
yeah, my male-dominated brain, like it, I don't care what people say about, oh, I'm gender dysphoria, I was born with a woman brain and wrong body, whatever. Shut up. You still went through, your brain benefited from testosterone through puberty. That gives you
Right.
anger, strength, um,
The capacity for
violence.
violence that I don't have.
You know, there's a tendency for males to be more violent. We're more aggressive. It's just nature. That's just human nature. So
that's how you were created.
And you heard me say it maybe in this episode. My boy side starts coming out, or my like I say it on Twitter all the time. My toxic masculinity comes through in my texting hard, right? So
Right.
I can tell when someone's a trans man bitching at me because they talk like a girl, they text like a woman, and no matter how hard I try, I can't text like a girl. Like I can't use the right terminology. Now, my woman friends, my girlfriends, my friends that are girls, when I text with them, they're like, Jessica, you are such a woman. Like, you just never shut up. And I'm like, yeah, I'm very chatty. Even on text, I don't shut up. I'm like, well, what do you want to do? And I'm on. They're like, God damn, you are such a girl. Like, you, just like Amy, you never shut the fuck up. Like, so I'm bad about that. But yes, I will always have that male domination on that side of my brain that wants to protect women. And that's probably why I stand so strongly for women's sports and spaces. And it's more sports because I'm an athlete, but to be honest with you, the prison thing is the scariest shit. Like,
Right.
that's freaking crazy. To me, the fact that the prison system problem is not more in the news than the sports problem, that blows my mind. Like, that's women getting SA and nobody does about it. Whereas sports, yeah, you know, they lost a trophy or a girl lost a scholarship, that's fucking terrible. But women getting pregnant in prison from trans, that's morally wrong. Like, I just, yeah, that is, oh.
Yeah, the prison issue that, and actually, okay, so this is something I have apparently, according to my mother, my first encounter with a trans woman was when I was about 10 years old. And of course, I didn't know this, but she knew it. My mother is actually a psychiatrist. So a lot of, like, yeah, I get basically, yeah, everything I do gets analyzed. Anyway, so, but a lot of the things that have happened, I look back over the years, have I had any interaction with trans women? I'm thinking probably, but I wouldn't have known about it until this last 5 years, where part of it wasn't, you weren't being trans, the idea that the end goal was to live as much like the opposite gender as humanly possible. Okay. And that meant as the presentation, as the presentation, both physically as well as how we interact with the world, because the fact of the matter is women and men interact with the world entirely differently. Women are by definition going to usually shrink into the walls as much as possible as a self-protective issue. It's the way we do things. It's how I'm hardwired. I am also extraordinarily introverted. I was born not to be popular. So if you look at my YouTube channel, officially I have 3,500 subscribers. Thank God only about 300 of them actually watch on a regular basis. But
my channel.
Once upon a time, my channel actually blew up to about 15,000 people. And I basically closed my channel that day because I was like terrified. I'm not meant to be popular. It's who I am. But women and men, we interact differently. But if either of you were to come into the restroom while I was there, I would not have a feeling of threatening at all. There would be no sense. But if Blossom or Lily or I'm going to just call him Thomas because I just cannot even call him Tara. If any of those three came into the restroom, I would be terrified. So, I mean, it's the demeanor, and the demeanor is everything. And knowing that your hearts are so evident. Your hearts are evident that you don't mean women harm. Blossom means women harm. Lily means women harm. Thomas means women harm. And here, I just wanted to show you. Like,
students.
Hi.
her full name is Shut Up Daisy. Okay, but I understand, like, when you were in the Jubilee debate, one of the things that you said, and it just broke my heart, was I know that I don't pass. And legitimately, Jessica, I just wanted to hug you so much at that moment, because it was like, it, the fact of the matter is that is irrelevant. You have the demeanor. I mean, maybe sometimes you are suppressing the man side because you want to you just want to, punch somebody in the nose. And I get that, because it's currently Christmas, and every time I hear all I want for Christmas is you, it makes me want to punch Mariah Carey. So, I mean, and I've never punched anybody in my life. So there's that.
Yeah. Thank you. You're going to make me cry.
Well, don't, because you'll ruin your makeup.
Oh, it's not that bad. Like, you can. People get on me too that I take my makeup on. I'm like, I'm literally rubbing my face. Like, the makeup's not. There's not much makeup here. It just looks like it. Because I know how to do it. So I've been doing it for 20 years. But yeah, so I've part of my male brain tells me that I'm not supposed to be in the women's room. Just that's how I was raised. I was brought up in a redneck house, on my dad's side on a farm. You don't hit women, you protect women. Women first, you open doors for women. Like, that's where my mind comes from. So of course I'm gonna respect them, and I just don't like you said, like, I don't know how women perceive me. I can only get the sense of how they respond when I walk in the room with them, and most of the time it is positive. And I try not to walk intimidating, like, try and be as feminine as possible, put the effort in. So I appreciate that. I've been told that before, as far as, hey, you look like you're trying, and you have a calm sense about you, and you're not, overbearing. So
Right.
I don't see why you wouldn't be in the women's room. And it's just like, yeah, well, I've walked into the women's room in the past, and had women go like, oh, like, whether it was like, I don't think anybody was worried about me hurting them, but just, oh my God, that's a guy. Like, that's a 6'3" woman in heels. Like, holy shit. Um,
And by
so
the way, I like this wig the best that I've seen on you.
yeah,
Yeah, that's the best one I've seen on you.
I hate it personally, but I know it's a natural part line, and it's, lace front. Everybody's been bitching about my hair for the last 7 years, literally. Like, I don't like the way I look like this, but I know in public when I'm like this, I get less stares, way less stares. And everybody that sees me on social media is like, oh my God, your hair is amazing. Like, that looks so much better. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's a better one. I mean, and I actually once upon a time struggled with baldness. I was very sick. I lost all my hair. So I did look into wigs. And if you want a really natural looking one, you actually have to spend close to $5,000. So you do what you can,
Well, another thing that people don't realize, I wear the dumb hair that I wear because I wear it every day. Like,
Yeah.
going to work, your hair gets dirty. Like, I must buy 10. Whenever I find hair that I want to wear, I buy 10 of them immediately.
Right.
And they're 60 to 80 to $100 each. I buy 10 because I can only wash them so many times, and then they're done. Like, you
Right.
can't.
They have a limited lifespan. They
I
absolutely
have a $500 human hair wig. Like, I have one in the closet. I will never wear it again because I don't want to fuck it up. Right?
Yeah.
It's human hair. It's real. Like, I have some bitchin' hair, but I don't wear it every day, and I'm not gonna do it for YouTube or social media. I don't care. I do care what I look like, but I don't like this. Like, this is a pain in the ass. The maintenance on this one. I have 5 of these currently. My last hairstyle, I have 10 of those, and I only went through about 4 of them before I found this. And yeah, I don't know. I'll stay with it for a while until I get tired of it.
That's the nice thing about wigs. you can
The
move on.
benefit of having,
When I lost my hair, I got everything other than blonde. People are like, "Why didn't you go blonde?" And I'm like, "I'm gonna try something I don't have naturally."
yeah, male pattern baldness is a blessing, I guess.
Yeah. I was like, "Yeah, it was cold. It was very, very cold." That was the my big takeaway from losing my hair. It was really cold.
Yeah, these are warm for sure. So
Mm.
this is like a natural hair. Like I can play with it. It's soft and it feels good. It feels right. It doesn't come off. Um, so this question that's on the screen right now, I'm a little confused about it, but if I know she typed another one, Jessica, today. I know that the UK did ban puberty blockers, which is great. Um, but back to the other one. So a post-op trans person doesn't play sports, which I've had a few trans people on my channel that said that same sentiment, that echoed that sentiment, saying that actual transsexual women don't want to play sports because it's a manly thing to do. It's not as feminine. And I know some of the female athletes would argue that point. Say, what do you mean? I'm a girl and I want to play sports. It's like, yeah, okay, but the majority of sports is a male dominated industry. There's no getting around that. There's no women's baseball league. There's no women's, well, I think there is a women's football league, but it's in bikinis. Like, so there's a WNBA now. There's no women's, major hockey league. There is minor league women's hockey, but so you get my point. But I'm not sure about your question. Like, post-op trans women had nothing to do. Like, they didn't have anything to do in their life, meaning no purpose or no desire to play sports, I guess is what you're asking. Um, Zero post-op in competitive sports, your take. Yeah, because the post-op trans people, okay, so the question is, why is there zero post-operative competing in sports? My take is because all these trans athletes, and I do that because the middle-aged trans athlete that's not at the elite level isn't really transsexual. They're just doing it, like Cassie said earlier, for either a fetish or to live out their childhood dream, maybe, of being dominant in a sport that they love. Um, so I think that the reason why there aren't any post-op trans women in sports is because it's a non-issue to an actual transsexual. So a person that I mean, I'm an actual transsexual, but I compete in sports, but it's at a grassroots level. It's not professional. Like, I did my pro days as a boy. Like, that's when I made money as an athlete. So I would never try and further that career along now that I'm claiming to be a woman, right? So I guess that's the answer to the question is that I don't think that the people that are competing in elite level sports as a trans woman, they're not post-op and they're not transsexual either. They're just IDing trans men, basically. Do you agree with that, Cassie?
I would say yes.
Right? So they're not, their main focus in life isn't to be trans. Their main focus in life is to just do something dressed as a woman so that they can get their fetish out. Like, that's how I feel about it. I know, I saw your face, Lily. It's true, though, right?
I know. I'm sorry. It's the thing, like, I work as a server, and as a server, I will definitely encounter people more often at my work than in the normal course of my life because I'm also a very devout Christian. So this is not something I'm going to meet on the regular basis in my personal life. But at work, if somebody comes in, I basically try to address how they dress slash groom as far as the Miss or Mr. or whatever I choose to use. But at the same time, there's some that are dressed as one, but my gosh, they might be wearing a dress, but they're given, those Alexander vibes that you saw and things like that. So
Yeah, it's pretty scary out there. The fact that these I call it narcissism, entitlement, and misogyny. Like those three are my three go-to words on Twitter all the time is that they're just narcissistic men who are misogynistic and are they think they're entitled to have their fetishes fulfilled by being dressed as a woman, and that women should just cater to them. And it's crazy. I have these cross dressers reach out to me on social media and ask me the dumbest fucking questions. Oops, sorry, the dumbest questions about trans friendly, or do you ever see a woman with a trans woman? I'm like, your sexual preference has nothing to do whether or not you're trans at all.
Yeah.
If that's what's guiding your transition, I've actually, if you want to say saved or talked, I guess I've talked 3 people locally here in Vegas since I've lived here for the last 9 years. I've talked 3 guys out of transitioning simply by telling them what it would do to their body by taking cross-sex hormones. And they were like, what? No erection? Are you serious? Yeah, stupid. That's what I'm transitioning for. Like, and they were like, oh, well, my girlfriend wouldn't approve of that. Well, duh. So 3 guys have taken me out to dinner, like paid for my dinner, folks, in Vegas, with nice steak dinners, and, just drilled me and wanted to get into my brain about what it is to transition and what it feels like. And all this. I'm like, you got to do this, you got to do this. And I give them the list, and they're just like,
Deer in the headlights.
looking at me mortified. Like, I'm like, yeah, this is a little gross, but if anybody's still listening, peanut. That's what's down there. It's a little peanut now. Like, it doesn't work anymore. Yeah, it's gone. It shrivels up like a little lima bean or whatever you want to call it. Like, it's not usable. It doesn't function. It's just and they don't get it. They just think that everything is sunshine and rainbows when you're trans, like that, the world caters to you. And then it's like,
being trans is hard.
I wouldn't wish this on anybody. I hate it.
Well, and that's my thing is I don't have any skin in the game. I'm very happy as a biological woman. I do not know what it feels like to walk your life. I 100% understand. I don't know what it feels like. Both of you have said, I wish I were born a woman. But on the flip side, if you had not had the gender dysphoria, you wouldn't feel you wished you were born as a woman. You'd be perfectly happy as a man. And as somebody who, like I said, I'm pretty right-wing Christian, this kind of goes a little bit against my grain, but again, I don't walk your shoes. So please do not misunderstand my heart. That's definitely not meant to hurt you. I would say, I wish that you felt whole as your biological selves, but you don't. And, this, where we stand right now, you are living your best life to be productive as citizens in this country. And you're not hurting anybody, but we've got Lily Tino. Is that person hurting somebody? Absolutely. We've got Thomas. Is that person hurting somebody? Absolutely. We've got Jeffrey Marsh. Is that person hurting somebody? Absolutely. And that's where the right had to draw the line is it's not about you living your best life. It's about you trying to change somebody else's life. Or not you, please. Not you.
I understood what you meant. Yeah.
Yeah.
I talk to people a lot and they're like, yeah, I wish I wasn't trans, and I really wish that I was just comfortable with in the sex that I was born as but that's just not my reality. But like, I don't care if that means that I ended up being like a happy in a male body or a female body. I just wish I wasn't trans.
Yeah, and to touch on what you said, Lily, and I know we got to go, but like that talking point that Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Candace Owens, they all use that, is that they would rather us be happy with ourselves as we were born than be trans. So that's where I think the trans community gets fearful, is their own community is fear mongering them, because Matt Walsh says, why don't you just love yourself the way you are and don't be trans? So the trans activists go, oh my God, they want to detransition everybody and they don't want to let anybody transition. No, they never said that. Candace Owens had Brianna Ivy, who's a friend of mine, on her show for an hour And I cried watching that. And I know Brianna and personally. And, you know, Candace Owens doesn't hate trans people, but she doesn't believe in it. And we can't force her to, and we don't want her to believe in it. We just want her to leave trans people be. And I, you know, I do hear that talking point that why can't you just be happy with the way you were born? I wish you were happy the way you were born, and you wouldn't be going through this turmoil in your head that Cassie's gone through, that I've gone through. So yeah, I totally 100% agree with you. I wish I could have been, you know, just a happy boy, and I was like I've said this many times on many podcasts with my mom, or not with my mom, but you know, I grew up angry, just pissed off. Like everybody that knew me from my late 18s to my early 30s, I was an asshole, straight up mean, just testosterone raged. I was kickboxing, I was fighting, like. But I mean, I didn't just go around punching people in the face, but I was just not pleasant to talk to. And now my mom knows me as this for the last 10 years. She's like, you are an angel. Like, you were so nice. Like, when we go out to dinner, restaurants, I go to Walmart, all the cashiers and the checker girls, they all come hug me and they're like, Jessica, you know. And everybody knows me in my local neighborhood where I shop. And I go to Ross or, you know, Home Depot and everybody's like, oh, it's just, you know, oh, it's fun, you know. So, you know, it changed my life, you know, I think for the better, but still there are the naysayers that say you should have just stayed the way you were and been happy that way. There's no reason you couldn't have talked to somebody psychologically, worked it out in your brain that it's okay to be a boy and you can present as a man and you don't need this. But something up here, just every day I look in the mirror, I see a guy, I fucking hate it. I want it to stop, right? And every day I look in the mirror and I see who I am now. I don't like what I see, but it works. Like I can go through my day, I guess.
Well, and again, because I've not walked in your shoes, and I have my own issues, as everybody does. I deal with depression and anxiety, which comparatively I think is relatively small compared to gender dysphoria. But aside, they have not made the discrete drug to treat gender dysphoria, as far as I know. I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong, but the drug that treats gender dysphoria, I think, is HRT. Not, you know, there's not a serotonin boost or anything. Let's just go ahead. Nope, it looks like, you know, it's I am not aware. And there does need to be this compassion tempered by, of course, logic, and the compassion for the true gender dysphorics and the logic for the AGPs. You guys just need to be way over there, way over there. Stay, you know, there. We need to temper both of them, because it's been like, I have so much compassion for somebody that's dealing with something I don't even remotely understand, but I have absolutely no compassion for somebody who has a kink and they're trying to invade the space of somebody who has something really happening in their biology.
Yes, exactly.
So before we go, did you have anything else you wanted to add, Jessica, before we wrap things up?
No, I just want to thank Lily for being so kind. And like I said, anymore when I'm fighting the fight for women's sports, it's just a relief that I don't run into pushback from actual women. It's so hard on me when I hear women fighting with me saying that, you know, I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing, whether it's they're talking about my life that I'm living or that I'm speaking up for women's sports. So lately, the gender critical has been coming after me harder than the actual trans activists. You know, the trans activists just block me and run away because they don't want to hear what I have to say. And but the rad femmes, like, they are just downright nasty. So anytime I can get an actual woman to tell me thank you, you know, I don't need that thanks. I don't need that reciprocation. I just don't need to be yelled at for, you know, trying to do something good for women. And my response to them is always the same. It's always, wouldn't you rather have another voice regardless of what it looks like? Wouldn't you rather have another person on your side? And they just do not care. They hate this so much that they just will not put their guard down.
All right.
I would love to go out for coffee. I don't drink coffee, but I'll drink some coconut water with you.
There you go.
I would love that, Lily. Nebraska, I'll remember that. My cousins have family in Nebraska. So.
Mm-hmm. And since you came up here, Lily, is there anything else you want to say before we hop off here and a little outro for yourself?
No, not really. I just want to thank you both so much for having me. And apparently, Shut Up Daisy is really wanting a little bit more camera time. So here you go. Sorry, this is like, yeah, Shut Up Daisy. It is her full name, and she's actually been relatively quiet, but she's been here and annoying for the last 15, 20 minutes. So anyway, thank you both so much. And thank you for fighting the good fight, because I know that you're getting pressure from both sides and it's not fair to you. So I want you both to know that you have support from somebody who should, in theory, you would think not even want to share your breathing space. And that's not true. As a matter of fact, the vast majority of even conservative women want you to feel safe and protected. We, of course, just want our own selves to also feel safe and protected.
Yeah.
Most of us do know that because the tide has only shifted in the last, really 5 years, but up to about, 10 years before that, but it's only really shifted in the last 5 years. And I think we know who we can blame, but we won't go there right now. So anyway, thank you so much. Have a great day.
All right. And Jessica, thank you so much for coming and agreeing to this interview. I really appreciate you here. Hopefully I can have you back on this platform again. I would absolutely love to have you.
Yeah, let's try and line up a guest where you and me can both grill him.
Absolutely. Next time I find a TRA that threatens me to a debate, I would I'm bringing backup.
I'll totally do it. Let's do it.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So chat, thank you so much. And everyone chat, say thank you to Jessica for showing up. And I hope everyone has a lovely night.
Good night.